Hello everyone, welcome to my playthrough of Wonder Boy. So it's going to be a long one, 1 hour and 26 minutes according to my display there, and that is taking into account all the edits that I've done. When I started doing these retrospectives reviews, my idea was, and still is, to play through. How can you do a retrospective and review without playing through the game? So it's definitely something you've got to do. But this second game, Wonder Boy, I thought, fine, I'll try and go through this game next. And man, was it tough. I thought, you know, with the fact that I can save and things and got infinite continues, that'll be doable. Wow. I didn't realise what an undertaking it was going to be. It's a really tough game. This thing, I always try and avoid the skateboard because it almost always kills me. I think this is the best I've ever done with the skateboard. And then we've got the angel there, so she's going to protect us. Yeah, so and also with me having done all that editing, I'm now talking over the top, so it's a different style of commentary, isn't it? It's not doing it while I'm playing, which changes the tone of, there you go. Maybe if I knew what was coming, I would be able to do it. So 1 hour 26 edited, and really, I don't know, so many restarts and continues. And then you go online and you see that there are these playthroughs 1 hour long with people who've mastered the game and been playing it so often. You feel like a complete chump. But my focus is do the retrospective, the reviews of these games that you remember. I'm not really bothered about being the best of the game. That is a undertaking in itself. I just want to show the game that people remember. So we can do that. These Area 1 and the second area tends to be these islands with the... Oh, this is not going to end well. See how long I last with this flipping thing. I mean, it does protect you once you get hit, and then you don't die straight away. You kind of pop off the skateboard, but it's an uncontrolled descent, as it were. It's an uncontrolled disembarkation. So you just, when I get hit by an enemy, generally there's something else nearby that hits me. So I just, all through this playthrough, I'm going to avoid that flipping skateboard as much as possible. Yeah, these second levels with the clouds always trip me up, and they're particularly difficult. Once you die, you lose the axe, and depending on where you are with your continues and stuff, sometimes you have to go through, you know, like if I die now, I start back at the beginning of the checkpoint there, and I might not have the axe unless the game gives me an axe near the checkpoint. Then you have to come through here without the checkpoint. You'll see that later on, where you really have to... There's always a way to do it without the axe, but it's can be incredibly precise at times. But there's actually one, I think it's, for me, it's the hardest jump in the game that takes place on one of these levels. I think it's in Area 7. Just have a little drink of my Coke. Like I say, we're going to be here a while. Yeah, and Area 7, I mean, it could be a problem with the emulation for the game, but once I got to level 7, I couldn't use any continues. So then I had to use save states with RetroArch, which broke up the flow of the gameplay a little bit. But really, it's the only way I've been able to complete the game. I want to show the game from beginning to end, whether or not I complete it genuinely or not. Just want to show each of the games that I do on the channel. And this is one, like I said in the retrospective, that I remember, that last thing where it drops down there is crazy. This is one that I remember always being in arcades. Even as time went on and newer arcades, there was always a Wonder Boy there. Super Mario Brothers less so. I mean, it was always kind of around, but just Wonder Boy, I remember this theme tune. being one of the tunes that was always in every arcade. An arcade without Wonder Boy, it's not a genuine arcade, it's a pretender. But I don't know why that would be. I think potentially, actually, this is my opinion, Super Mario Brothers the graphics of Super Mario Brothers dated much quicker than Wonder Boy. I think it always looked nice and it had that catchy tune. So having the screen playing with these bright, colourful graphics was just a nice thing to have in the arcades. Could it be something as shallow as that? Or could it be just the fact that it's a cheap game? I don't know, but it was always there. And I remember this being a favourite of my brother's. It was one that he would always play, but I don't think he holds it in that high regard now. Maybe I've made that up, but I think it was one that he was always slightly younger, so he would go for the more kiddie style games like this and Toki, is it? Toki? One with the gorilla. So this is a pain in the butt when you get that death thing over you. The opposite of the angel. How I dodged that bat there, I have no idea. So it drains your vitality really quick. What you can do when you've got infinite continues, of course, is just... there you go. Is just restart like this. So you've got your vitality back. It's less of an issue. If you're going through trying to complete the game, then obviously with, you know, on one life or something, you can't do that kind of thing. So the double jump there, you can actually do it without, you can do a standing jump really high. Well, not really high, but about the same distance vertically as if you were dashing. So you can do a standing jump straight up that seems as high. I'm not sure, I don't think it goes as far horizontally, but you can do that standing jump, and I didn't realise that for a while. Those are the dolls you have to collect. Get a certain number of those. I read 26, but then somewhere else I read a different number, so don't know how many of them you really need. Not keen on this music. I mean, I'm not keen on either of the musical scores, either this one or the main one. At least the main one is a little bit chipper and upbeat, although it does great very quickly. These guys, I've found that the best way to deal with them, because you don't get any points for killing enemies under normal circumstances. So if you just run, just dash at those frogs, they just jump straight over you. And then the game tries to trip you up. Once you've figured out that trick, I don't have to hit these guys, I can just run underneath them. Then it puts another frog in the line that doesn't jump over you, so you run straight into it. The game does that kind of thing all the time. It just establishes a pattern, gets you to do a certain thing, certain situations, then flips it, does something unexpected, and you die. Little tiny jump. So the first boss coming up. The boss battles are okay. They're not too tough. The last two get pretty, what would you say, just tricky. Like this guy, he moves back, and it's when he moves that you have to be careful of. Like he does a little step forward. You need to be underneath the fireballs. So he's a really easy one, but not close enough to him so that when he steps forward he clips you. Another one of these island levels, which I really like. I was quite surprised when I saw the guys, you know, the islanders with their blue skin. It's not appropriate these days. Hit that flipping. No. How embarrassing. This is the thing when you record gameplay Someone who's never recorded gameplay. You have no idea how embarrassing it can be at times. So, I mean, I could have jumped for that. I should have jumped for that, really, and just jumped over the next thing. But sometimes you just couldn't, you're in the moment, aren't you? Thinking, well, I mustn't skid forward. I must brake there. But then you brake, you try and jump, and you don't have the momentum. So, but once you know, then you can do it. I can't remember seeing anything beyond the first level of Wonder Boy. I think it's kind of one of those games that I may have seen one of the bosses at some point, because that seemed to ring a bell when I saw them. But the good thing about doing these retrospectives is that you get to see all the games that you never saw in the arcade. You get to see them through to their completion. It's really cool. And when you go back to my 10-year-old self and think, well, there'll come a time at the point in the future when you won't have to go to these arcades. You managed to get a tenner from your mum, you go down to the arcades, you got money to spend, but it's going to run out eventually. Someone told me, one day you'll be able to play all these games. Well, that was very close. A complete fluke. And another fluke, he nearly killed me. These games will be free. You'll be able to emulate them all on your home system, nothing to worry about. I mean, it's great, really, isn't it? You would have given anything to be able to do that. And now, these games are all readily available, but all we want is the latest CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk. You think, no, well, let's look at these games. They're the history of games. I kind of get a little bit frustrated sometimes because there's a definite lack of interest. Oh, a lack of skill on my part there. A definite lack of interest in the history of games from gamers. I have a lot of gamer friends. There's a documentary that just come out on the making of Doom. Have you seen it? No, not watched that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, just trivia. What was the first game released on the Super Nintendo or something like that? No, people don't care. It's like, well, I think people like the experience of playing games and they want the next best thing, and they don't treat it as a kind of an all-encompassing hobby that spans multiple decades and multiple systems, and you can get really curious about how the games are made and what games were released when and the differences between them and stuff. I'm more interested in that these days than playing the next hotness, playing the next amazing game and some of them are great, aren't they? But it sounds like a really wanky thing to say, so some of them are great, aren't they? There are some amazing games these days with incredible, aesthetically incredible, the realism, the scope of the worlds, the depth of the mechanics are so advanced. But since playing these old games through, it's really given me a new appreciation for, what would you say, the history of games. I mean, you can read facts about games, but until I played Wonder Boy and set myself the task of going through it from beginning to end, I didn't realise how design has changed, what this game was, and our expectations of games back in the day as opposed to now, and how much things have changed. Whether for the better or not is not the point, just the fact that they are different. The expectations for games these days are so different. Something like Wonder Boy, the expectation on the part of the developers and the I imagine the expectation on the part of the player as well was that this would be almost like a puzzle. I will have to figure out this game and crack the game. And the fact that you die so much, the fact that you have to repeatedly go over it and over it until you learn it, was par for the course, and I've forgotten all about that. Nowadays it's very hard to think of a game, perhaps something like Dark Souls, which does something similar. Expects the player to die. It's not the default anymore. I would say playing this version of Wonder Boy, which seems perfectly emulated to me. I can't see any difference between this and the actual. It doesn't feel any different. Everything sounds fine. So I'm taking this as a pretty accurate emulation of the game, and assuming that it is. I think this is the. I mean, I know it is. Oh God! I triggered the frog. I would say this is the hardest game I have played in a long time, and it's what 30 years old. 1986. So that is 14. Yeah, something like that. Things were harder in the past. It's an interesting concept. Thinking about how that relates to other things as well. You know, the tendency as you go forward is not always towards more complicated. Well, things tend to get more complicated, like the themes in movies may be a bit more sophisticated, and the systems in games become more complex. There's more to them, but they're not necessarily harder or more demanding than they were before. They just assume the audience is ready for more complexity. But it doesn't go hand in hand that means it's going to be hard. In fact, it's probably quite off-putting. I mean, I think of examples, modern examples. Dark Souls is one, which I've never got into. Dark Souls, still on my list. But you would think of the modern XCOM, which does embrace the difficulty of the original XCOM. So I don't know, maybe we're seeing a kind of an acknowledgement of that with certain games and certain genres becoming popular. That people do want it. They want difficulty and they want complexity. Difficulty and complexity together, maybe. But there's always the idea that you would just give someone the hardest version of a game. Sekiro recently has come out, and very hard game. But I believe there is a mode in that. I don't know if they patched it or it's there from the beginning, where you can just go through and it's very, very easy. Whether it's easy or you just go through and basically see the cutscenes. But yeah, you just wouldn't release a game with that kind of as a thing. What was I watching back in the day? I remember watching a documentary with, I think it was Dara O'Brien, a British comedian, talking to, who's the Black Mirror guy? What's his name? Anyway, the writer who does Black Mirror, before he did Black Mirror, that's his big hit, used to do a documentary series all about video games, and before YouTube became the place to go for video game content, I guess. And it was quite a good series. You know, it didn't have the cringe of the TV shows of the past that were about games, fronted by people who aren't gamers. He was obviously a gamer and knew what he was talking about. But he had celebrities on talking about the games that they've played over the years, and I think it was Dara O'Brien talking about GTA 4. Yeah, Liberty City, the one with Nico Bellic. And having never got to the second island in that game, having never got across the bridge to see that game, and this idea, like, you know, I've paid £40 for this, give me my content. You have to be good enough. There's no other genre. It's been said before, but it's a weird expectation, isn't it? There's no movie or book or other form of entertainment. Maybe sport is the only thing where you're only allowed to see the later stages or get through to the later stages if you're good enough. You just pay your money and you get what you pay for. Yes, they're kind of... No, you're periodically challenged, like, do you want it enough in computer games? So that guy, unfortunately, with the editing choices, because as you see, I've edited it in such a way that I get to a checkpoint, die, then I go back to the successful run at that from that checkpoint on. So it looks like I only make the mistake once, and then I overcome it. But that's not actually the case. Some of these checkpoints, like I die between checkpoint 2 and 3, then I go back to checkpoint 2. In the editing, I made the decision, well, just go to the successful run at that point, between checkpoint 2 and 3. In actual fact, there are many more attempts because, you know, I was just finding this very difficult. This, you know, here, I didn't get that the first time. But it's really the only way to do it, to make it a somewhat coherent playthrough, because you don't want to, trust me, you don't want to watch hours of me dying to these puzzles and these challenges. And a lot of the time I find, you let me know in the comments, it's not necessarily not having the skill to do a particular puzzle, it's having the patience. You know, I'm wanting to go too fast all the time. Should have gone back and got the flipping axe there. A lot of the time I would repeatedly die to a moving platform because I wasn't waiting. I just want to move forward, and that's an interesting, it did occur to me as something to say now that I remember. When I knew I was going to have to do this voiceover, that one of the arguments you could level at this style of game, with its constantly trying to wrong foot you, so you're moving fast, then it will drop something in that if you're moving fast, you die to that. So then you're cautious at that particular bit, then you're cautious, and who knows, you might be too cautious. A jump comes up where you have to be running at full pelt to make the jump and stuff. And it, if you think of something like Sonic, which has a very definite look like this, that's really, you know, it looks so easy, doesn't it? Oh God, die so many times. If you think of something like Sonic, that game is constantly trying to get you to pick up speed and be moving really, really fast all the time. That's what you should be doing in Sonic. And also in Mario, that's what happens with the flipping skateboard. Get hit, then the wasp stings you. In Mario, yeah, as well as Sonic, I think there's a kind of a rhythm to the gameplay that with Wonder Boy, I think it's less so. Something about the game. I mean, I need to replay Super Mario Brothers, which I will do at some point on the original on the channel, and compare the two and see how difficult it is compared to Wonder Boy. I mean, I don't remember Super Mario Brothers being as hard as this, but then did I ever play Super Mario Brothers to the point at which it got hard? Maybe not. I don't think I played any. I think I can count on one hand the number of arcade games I actually completed in the arcade. Golden Axe. You know, that's the only one that's Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. I think I might have done because it was. I think I have a vague memory that was really, really easy. Those guys, I think they're wearing skins of some kind, but I'm not sure. All these snakes at an annoying angle. Enemy variety is okay. I think it could be a little bit. It could mix things up. I think by the time you've gone through, I should have paid closer attention. But by the time you've gone through the first level, haven't you seen all the enemies? And then no, those glowing skulls appear later, and the bats maybe. But apart from the bosses, I think generally once you've been through the first level, you've seen everything, and then it's a case of just them repeating. So I think this might be the first example of like needing to know the pattern. Like this is a really difficult jump. Miss the first one, but don't get hit by the second one as it comes through the cloud. And obviously I've got no axe here, so I can't remember in the edit exactly what I've done, but the game is all fully here, but it's kind of pieced together from my abortive attempts. Ugh. Shouldn't have gone for the cake, dude. Just keep going. You didn't even need it. Cool. I like these little squid things. They remind me of these little, they were like rubbery things that were sticky. Little toys. And you used to throw them and they'd stick to the wall. The shiny squid things. I remember covering it, and to re-stickify them you would rub soap or dishwater on them, dish soap kind of thing. Weird things that you remember, but I can't help it because since I decided I'm going to start doing this, looking at all these old games, because I discovered RetroArch, and it just makes the process of emulating games so much less painful. And I wanted to do a game that, you know, I wanted to produce some content on a specific topic. Where was I going with that? I can't remember. Yeah, but ever since I started doing this, jump, I've really started thinking I should have got that doll. It's not going to matter. I do get a few by the end, but it's all by fluke. I don't think I even realised until like I was on level 5 that was a thing, because my actual run through is broken into one evening and then the next day. Where was I? What was I talking about? I was talking about this idea of remembering stuff. I'm really trying hard to remember stuff I may have forgotten from the past. My brother is a good source of new memories of stuff that we might not have, that I don't remember. Darkseal was one that my brother remembered, which actually started me looking again at emulation and how to play these old games. So thanks to Matt. Got the milk. It's always lovely. That big bottle of milk just gives you such a... my goodness. All my vitality back. Milk is the ultimate. That's one of the frogs that doesn't jump, dude. You can just go towards it. I'm backseat gaming myself. That's the thing with playing games online as well. I have done other gameplay quite a while. I have another YouTube channel, and I played a lot of games on that. And the desire of some people to just backseat game. I don't know what's going on through people's minds. Sometimes with like just they watch a video or watch you streaming and stuff, and all they can think to say is what you do wrong. Shouldn't have done that. You should be doing this. It's like, where are you coming from? I don't. If I ever find fault with someone, it will always be based on kind of like I disagree with something someone said, or try and offer. There are ways to offer constructive criticism, but if your point of watching something is just to watch to get a sense that you're better than everyone else or someone else, I don't understand that impulse at all. That is what you want to do, and if you do that, you think of any examples from life of people who are successful, who spend a lot of time criticizing other people. There's none of them. They're just busy doing their thing. So it's kind of a good example of someone who's like, yeah, you really haven't got this guy. For some reason, he doesn't fire. I think he fires one fireball. I remember editing this. It's really weird. So why does this guy fire so few fireballs? Yeah, I really don't get that. You think of a sports person who just won the swimming at the Olympics. Well, he's just won the swimming. He's one of the swimmers. They don't, in interviews, just sit there talking about everything everyone else did wrong, because they're too caught up in trying to improve themselves. I think people just do it because it makes them feel better about themselves. It's kind of sad that it's so prevalent on the internet. And of course the anonymity makes it easier because you don't have to be accountable. It's easy to sit and just criticise. One of the easiest things a person can do. Certainly better than doing anything constructive. Certainly easier. My little rant for the day. So in terms of the specifics of the game, it's such a straightforward game. Like the vitality there, I'm nearly down. I've got I was going to say 2 Bs there. I've got 2 bars left. So you're just trying to get to this checkpoint when you've got the infinite continues. So if I die now, I'll just get half my vitality back. So it's cool. It's fine, isn't it? Grab that tomato. Try and get to the end. There you go. Bang. 2 boulders. You weren't expecting that, were you? Nope. It would be nice if there were more little background elements like that. I think those totem poles only appear once and twice. Nice little addition. In my retrospectives and stuff, I was expecting more information to be readily available about some of these games, but sometimes it's quite hard to track down. There's less than you would think that's kind of out there. So one thing that has surprised me most is it's become more kind of review than anything else. The best way to understand a game is not necessarily a ton of documentary evidence and detailed stuff about the development of a game, because I don't think it's out there sometimes. I mean, it is in some cases, but interviews with the developers of these kind of games, it just didn't happen back in the day, did it? And so some of that information is not there, and the best way to get a sense of a game, which is as it should be, is to just play it. That's how you really get the heart of a game. Go on, you can do it, dude. I know you can. Frog. They have such a weird jumping pattern. But by the final level I realised what I could do, which was just hit them with one axe, and then as they come towards you, you can do a swing, and he kind of swings it over his head so that if they're coming down on you, you can whack them out of midair. But it's kind of stuff that you maybe only learn after hours and hours of playing the game. I have huge respect for people who have the time and dedication to go through games and just perfect them. On my Twitch channel, guy was watching me play, as happens on Twitch. Ooh, so what? Look, see how long I can survive on this bloody skateboard. This is actually, I forgot that I did this. There you go. We didn't die. We've got to get over the fire. It's not going to make it. Yeah, a guy who does like speed runs. I think he's world champion. But people discover you when you're playing the same game. So he came and watched me playing Resident Evil, and how it must be for someone like that to watch a complete noob or an average gamer play the game that they know so well. But then again, that's another example. You see, the guy was absolutely charming, lovely, wasn't watching and telling me everything I'm getting wrong, because he doesn't need to do that to make himself feel better, make himself feel good. He already knows he's good. I think it's the call sign of a insecure person who's constantly criticizing other people. I don't know why this has got in my head, really, this particular topic. It's probably, you know, sometimes it's when you're interacting online and stuff. Someone says a particular thing and you just think, oh, shut up. These bats are freaky at times. It's lovely, simple graphical effects and choices. You know, the bat turns into bones and all the enemies just fall off the edge of the screen. There's something very pleasing about that. Doesn't require them to burst into an explosion or anything like that. They just fall off the screen. It's something about it. It's obviously, the whole thing is unrealistic, but it seems like a very economical way to keep the game flowing, keep it simple and clean. And I can imagine the developers thinking, you know, it's also time saving. Let's just have them fall off the screen so we don't have to create any more art assets. Run through. Oh. So the icy level is a real pain in the butt. If you weren't skiddy enough, it's super skiddy. So one of the things that I have heard people talk about with Wonder Boy is his skiddiness, but the skiddiness of the movement. But it's actually an integral part of the game. Being able to control Tom and know when to be walking and how to stop a skid by jumping. How to walk fast, how to walk slow, how to jump high, how to do a medium jump. It's not like it's a what would you say? It's not because it's not on purpose. It is on purpose, and there's reason to the madness, and it can be frustrating at times, but it's part of the skill of controlling him. It's incredibly frustrating, but I appreciate the fact that they've stuck with a character that's not necessarily, on the surface he's quite hard to control, but you can be very precise with him, like I wasn't there. I feel like I'm a bit throaty in this this evening. That's why I've got my Coca-Cola with me. So if you're watching through my videos, I hope you're enjoying them. either the retrospectives or the playthroughs themselves, do let me know. Despite what I was complaining about people, most people are lovely when you talk to them on the internet. They're not. There's a vocal minority who are not, so don't be shy about saying hello. You're watching all the videos. I don't know what is happening with the screen there. Hope that doesn't persist. Feel like it's jumping, you know, it's uneven. I like to get a smooth, crisp video image. I think it might just be the that particular section there. It's jumping a little bit. Who knows? After all this time, you'd think I'd get my software set up. I thought I had. So how to time this? What do you reckon? There you go. They look like Fox's Glacier Mints. Do they still exist? Promoted by a polar bear in the UK. I always imagine polar bears have very cold breath because of that advert. That's how things mess with your mind when you're a kid. I'm sure the polar bear was breathing in Antarctica. Antarctica? North Pole? Where are polar bears? And because he was promoting a mint. I've got this idea that polar bears have cold breath. Shit. There we go. I don't want to say what that reminds me of, but there was a particular stereotype, a very sort of egregious depiction of a black person on the jars of a particular jam in the UK. Would that have been around in the when this game came out? Possibly. It's just dicey. Don't keep dying, dude. Get good. So I wonder if you're doing what I did at this stage of the game. Well, actually before this. Turn off the sound and got some music on, listening to because you've heard all the sounds at this point. You've heard all the music. Nothing's going to come along that surprise you in terms of those things. You've heard it all. So turn the sound off. Leave my voice on, obviously. Oh no, you can't. I can do that. You can't. What I was going to say was, I would have to do that for you. Maybe I should do like a version where we turn the music off, and then you could. What I was going to say was, you could listen to some music and just have my voiceover. I was doing that the other day with a YouTube channel that I really like, Retro Blasting. They look at old 80s toys. And the guy was just chatting for like 3 hours on a live stream. So I put some music on, just listen to some random guy talking for hours. I find it relaxing, so I can't be the only one who does that kind of thing. There we go. Love this little angel just smashed through all of the... Die, die, die. Revenge. Should be able to get this fire and then jump this last... Ah, you knob. Now that's unusual for me because this is editor me getting it wrong, because I shouldn't have put that second failed attempt in there, because it's a waste of time seeing that, because I died that way the first time. There you go. Oh, so did you know anyone? That's the question. Did you know it? Did you know anyone in the arcade who could beat this game or get a significant way through the game? I'd be interested to know. Or could you? I have some genuine gaming stars watching. So this is where it gets a little bit more difficult now. This guy gets tricky. They all get tricky from this stage. So stay underneath the arc. That's the way I've found to do it. I don't think there's any other way. just chip away at him because he fires 2, doesn't he? Yeah, it's funny in terms of the narrative, like there's very little narrative explanation of what's going on, who this guy is and why has he got multiple heads. They say on some of the research that I did, this guy is wearing different masks. He doesn't seem to be wearing different masks to me. He seems to have multiple heads that just replace each other. What was that edit there? Can't remember why I edited there. Any weird edits that you see like that from probably from this point on? Where are we? 47 minutes. So it's probably not yet. I'll tell you when I get. Well, you'll know when I get to area 7. That's when I really have to start editing because I'm using save states because of the no continues thing. I mean, that's mental though, isn't it? But I think the point is that you're good enough to get to level. If you're good enough to get to level 7 without continuing like this, which is essentially someone who doesn't know what they're doing, who hasn't practiced, just going through and having infinite credits. I've not got to the stage. You would have to play a lot more to get really good at the game. So. Yeah, once you get to level 7 under kind of in a reasonable amount of time and having used a reasonable number of credits, you're going to be really, really good at the game. At which point you'll probably have tons of lives because you get lives for points and you probably know where all the secret lives are. So once you get to area 7, because of the no continues, unless it's a glitch with this emulation of the game, which I mean, it's completely perfect otherwise, so I suspect not. You're going to have all those lives to use on area 7. That was close. And on the Master System and stuff, I was getting confused because I was trying to get a sense of how much of the game was left. Because this is actually the first... Well, I haven't at this early stage really set in stone how I'm going to record things, but this is the first game where I thought, well, you're at an early stage of doing these types of videos. What you could do is just forego that, which is at this point an arbitrary rule because everything's up in the air at the start of something. Do you have to complete every game? Like when I got to area 5, I really felt like, look, is this just, am I being a masochist here? Do I really need to record play through every single game? Can't remember where I was going for that, but I ultimately feel like yes, you do need to go through them all. But yeah, that was it. I was looking up for an idea of how much I still had to go because I thought there's probably going to be 5 areas, but then 5 went on to 6 and I thought, man, if there's 10 of these, I don't know if I've got the patience. That wasn't actually particularly hard. You'd think it would be, but it's just little simple jumps. Yeah. So I did think about quitting. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to are the many different versions of Wonder Boy. For the Sega Master System, there's one for Nintendo, and I was coming across loads of different things, like something was saying like level 10, you need 36 dolls. I'm like, geez, level 10, what are you talking about? And I think they're talking about the Master System version. So I'm glad there weren't 10 levels to go through. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it, that they would expand it for home consoles, and I think that is the point at which these kind of the mechanics of once you take out the money aspect of arcade games from the design, and the fact that people are at home and they've got more time to spend, again, skateboard death, more time to spend at home just playing through these games. is leisurely the right word? But the design becomes more forgiving, let's say, in terms of it's less kind of one 30-second chunk of a level that is really, really hard, and more kind of like, well, here's a 5-minute bit of a level that has a number of challenges, and if you take your time you'll probably get through it because you're in no rush. The churn is not there that it was in the arcades. There are a few exceptions, and I remember them clearly. The arcade games that factored that in less. But then is that because I became good at those games and they just seemed easy? Because I played them so much. Maybe I would feel the same way about Wonder Boy if I'd played it enough. I wish I'd brought up now my list of things. Well, there's no point me telling you a list of things that I'm going to be doing on the channel, because by the time you watch this, well, if I do them in order, I'm just curious at the minute. If I keep this running, it should be okay for me to open another file, because I've seen this. Trust me, I've edited this, I've seen it. So what is next on the channel? What's coming up? Because I want to see what games I've got. So we'll see the list of videos by the time I've done this first sequence. So I think it's going to be, what have I still got to do? So I've done Dark Seal, doing Wonder Boy. I think I'm going to do, and I'm thinking of 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 1, 2. I need to choose. So I've got Crude Busters, Final Fight. Those are very similar. Well, side-scrolling beat-em-ups. Shadow Warriors. I need to choose between Final Fight and Shadow Warriors. Ghouls and Ghosts. Starblade. I think will be the first sequence of videos. So look forward to those. They're not up yet. Make this full screen again. Yeah, I have enjoyed it. I feel like I know it's less academic now. I've played through the whole game. I don't feel proud that I've beaten it, because I haven't legitimately beaten it in a way that is that I think someone would accept as being good at the game. But having gone through it, I do feel a little bit like unfinished business has been, I don't know, what would you say? I feel like this is unfinished business from back in the 80s. It's like all these games that I played and loved and never managed to beat. Now I'm going to do it in 2019. And we'll see what was actually in store, if we'd ever have gotten to that stage. My mum didn't like me going to arcades. I don't know how I managed to get away with it, really, because I was quite a, what would you say, quiet kid, like a geeky kid. And she obviously didn't like the idea of me hanging around in arcades, but I must have just whined so much that I wanted to go and do it. So I would go to these arcades on my own as like at 10 and 11. It can't have been safe hanging around in these arcades, and I did primarily go on my own. I had friends who were into it, but I just loved the games. I didn't need to go with friends, so I would go there with £10 and walk to the seafront and just play games for hours at the arcades. It's my favourite thing to do. One of my most, what was it? Embarrassing memory. Let's see if I can remember it. But it was, what was I trying to do? I think I was trying to get more money, and I lied about where the money had gone. Was that it? I got home and I can't remember any. I remember lying about the money that I'd been given and that I'd lost it, whereas I'd really spent it on the arcades. I don't know what the compulsion was. I think it's getting lost in another world, you know. And I still do that in other ways. Not that I'm a fantasist or a multiple personality guy. I do it less with games now, and I do it more in there we go, jump, think, wow, oh shit. And I think the key there, obviously that's not the first attempt, but I think the key there is you don't try and get right to the end of the platform. In that case, you jump a little bit before, so it gives you time, because if you run to the edge of the platform then jump, the platform that you're on is too low for you to make the jump, so you need to jump a little bit before. That's how I seem to remember doing it. Yeah, it was escaping into another world, I think. It was the draw, and a great feeling of accomplishment when you manage something. I'm sure I'm not, definitely not now, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't back in the day, but of all my friends, you know, I was the one who was always the best at games. And I don't say that to brag, I just say it because as an example of before the internet, you really did not have, apart from your immediate kind of peer group, a good sense of what being good at a game was. I know that within my group I was always one of the best, if not the best, at playing games. I could always beat my friends at Street Fighter. I could always you know, get the furthest on the arcade games. But I'm sure if I were growing up now, that level of skill would not be considered anything at all to write home about. And it was weird, just back in the pre-internet days, you just didn't have as good of a sense of where you sit in the grand scheme of things. Now it's very easy to see, wow, you know, the difference between a good player and an average player. You think you're good until you watch someone who's really good, and then it's like watching someone with, I don't know how they do it. Some of the guys who do the speed runs, when you watch the good players at FPS, competitive FPS, or any competitive gaming, it's amazing. It's almost not a game at that stage. It doesn't strike me as a game anymore. It's more what is it? Zen? It's reducing a game to its mechanical constituents. It's the base level of obstacle reaction, cause and effect, and being able to just react in a split second. This guy's a real git, if I remember. Is this level 5 or level 6? I think this is the end of level 5. Was it the level 6 boss that was a real pain in the butt? And what happened is in level 7, when I'll maybe I should we'll mention it now, who cares. So sometimes I think that platform has dropped down, but I think it happens when if you step on the platform without picking up the item, then it falls away. So this bit here, you'll probably see me die only once, but this took forever because I don't have an axe. There's all these guys jumping around, so I've done this numerous times. Is this my first attempt? No, it can't be. Can't possibly be. So I did that so many times to figure out the timing. That was one of the sticking points, that beginning of level 6, when I really felt like, geez, this is only the beginning of the area 6, I should say. if it's all like this from now on, I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to complete this game. But, you know, you plow on and then the pattern becomes readable, doesn't it? You think, no, it's doable. It's doable. So we're timing everything here. You go down. You can jump down. So close, so close. I do like the fact that the level is designed in such a way that they have gone to such intricate detail in creating these levels. They must have played and you know, Q&A'd this so much to know. I don't know how that happens sometimes. It seems very fluky that you just land on it and I think if you're facing backwards, falling from a height maybe. Yeah, they must have Q&A'd it so much. Because some of these decisions in the design are just so specific as to the player is going to be jumping there at that particular moment, so we add this here. It's amazing. Much prefer that. Don't trip over those rocks. That's one bit where I remember I just kept running there. It's not a particularly difficult puzzle, but you want to run forward and you can't. There we go, knock him out of midair. Nice little background scenery, the coconut trees. Lovely. Oh! Yeah, I watch, one of the reasons for me wanting to do this channel and look at some of my childhood loves in this way was inspired by watching, well, specifically a channel, Oliver Harper, his reviews of movies, some old movies, primarily stuff that I remember. And this kind of scholarly, without being wankerish, examinations and opinions of those movies. And I love movies, but I'm not a film buff. I'm not a game buff either, but I have played a lot of games and have kept up with the hobby. You know, this has been my hobby. So without realizing it, you do play a lot of games, and you do, hopefully if you take an interest, reading interviews, reading making ofs and information from developers and stuff, you get a sense of the genre and you listen to the pundits and stuff. You know, without it being something that you've studied, you find that you know a lot about it, but you don't value it. It's kind of, you just take it as common knowledge that everyone knows this stuff. Now, I don't know how to jump over that boulder. I don't think it matters, you just let it hit you, but I don't think there's any way to jump backwards and let it roll underneath you when you're on the skateboard. You're just travelling forward, so I don't know how you if there's a way to do that. Yeah, so my whole idea with this is, what is it, an archive? It might be of interest to other people. You know, I'm enjoying watching those kind of channels, and I love watching the videos one after another and get an opinion about something that you remember, that you wouldn't have heard about that thing when you experienced it, you know, because maybe you were the only person you knew who'd played that game. But now you can listen to other people's opinions. And it's great. Oh, I'm not the only one who loved this, or I'm not the only one who remembers that. And yeah, what was I saying? I mentioned retro blasting. That's like a toy review channel. Not a review channel. What would you call it? It's about retro toys. And I watch it because I'm not necessarily into that thing. I don't collect toys. And haven't for years. Quite early on, I changed my. Now you got the Darth, death, head on. I'm not sure how I'm going to manage to do this. So you got two little health things left, 2 little vitality things. Can you stay alive? Let's get to the checkpoint. Just get to the yeah, I swapped toys for computer games and have never looked back really. I think it was a good trade-off. But if I still like, you know, toys and stuff, and I like watching people who are passionate about a thing talk about that thing. And that's the appeal of something like Retroblasting or Oliver Harper's retrospectives. You can see the passion, they love it. They're just doing it because it's something that they're really into. And I really respect that, whatever it may be, unless you're, you know, into, I don't know, genocide. You're really enthusiastic about genocide. I don't like that. But, you know, I like watching. I mean, it has to be something that I'm vaguely familiar with or into, but I like the passion of people talking about a topic that they're really into, and because that's what I'm enjoying so much, I wondered if I could do a channel where I'm doing a similar thing. And I know I don't sound particularly upbeat right now because you know what? When you're doing a voiceover over the top of something, it's really hard to be. There we go, we got the frog. It's really hard to be enthusiastic. Not enthusiastic, I am enthusiastic, but if you start with high energy, you're not going to get through an hour and a half. So you have to pace yourself. I learned that through doing videos quite a while ago. And you don't get the immediate impact of, like, if you've ever watched any Let's Plays, a lot of the time you're just reacting in the moment. But when you're doing this kind of voiceover thing, it's because you're more divorced from what's going on the screen and you've already seen it because you've edited it together. You know, if I were just saying, well, there I am, I'm running past number 2, oh, jump over the rock, hit the skull, missed it, there you go, got him, yeah, screw you, boulder, oh shit, alright, we're through that, but let's keep going. That's not an interesting that's not an interesting Let's Play. It's the kind of thing you can do. It does sound natural in the moment, but you can't. So this voiceover just becomes me waffling about various things. I do worry that I haven't talked enough about the game, but that is what the retrospective is about. So do go there and watch it. This is more kind of like for you guys who haven't got the time or the inclination to play through the game and do all this infuriating repetition. I can do it for you. I was talking about my brother a lot, but that was he was the one who suggested a classic arcade game. I was trying to find it, and that made me want to go back and play. And I was also thinking, he's a very busy chap, and I perhaps have a little bit more spare time. And I could play those games that he hasn't got time to play, and then he could watch them. But the game that I was thinking about was this really big sort of RPG thing, Shining Force from Sega on the Saturn, and it's like, oh no, I know enough to know that recording that is going to be an absolute nightmare. That's hundreds and hundreds of hours of of strategy RPG. Uploading that online is not practical. It's not worth it in the current YouTube climate either. You know, it doesn't help you build a channel, and unless you've got a good reason to do it, it's not worth it. But doing these kinds of games, that's doable, isn't it? And they're all relatively short, infuriating but short, and you can Stay on topic, that's the thing. With my other YouTube channel I was always going off topic because I would get bored with a particular game, and then you find that the people who've come for that game are annoyed that you've gone on to another game, and it's just like, oh jeez, I don't know what to do then. I can't play the same thing forever. Well, let's pick a topic. Classic arcade games. You love them, you played them, you want to play them again, you're curious, you want to revisit some memories, you want to see what the reality is compared to those memories. That's an ongoing thing that is relevant between all these different games and ties them all together, so hopefully it'll work. So we've got this last level 6, and then is the crazily stitched together level area 7. I keep calling them levels. Area 7. These bonfires. Who's lighting all these bloody bonfires? It's dangerous in the forest. There we go. We just run through and then jump the last one. Boom. You should have seen that. That's me just like, because I've been running and I want to make forward progress, instead of stopping and considering what I'm looking at, you just make the jump and then it's like, ah shit, slow down. Do it this time, don't you worry. So I don't know, yeah, I think I knocked into that island there. But again, you see, I seem to be bouncing backwards into him. So I wonder if there's a little kind of glitch, a little strat that you could use there to kill things on occasion. Or maybe it's just some random code that it sometimes happens. Sometimes get away with it. Over the top of these ones, then through the middle of those ones. Man, just had a vision of terror. I'd not been recording. It's frustrating. Not to worry. Hopefully you can hear my voice. Jump! Now, from memory, I cannot remember the second to last guy here. I think it is... Is it a lion? Or was that the last one? I know the very last boss in it is an elephant for some reason. And I should do some research to discover, so I could have said in this commentary what the stage 8 is. If you want, I bet there's a... There you go, I got it right, the lion. So this one, he's firing so low and so fast that all you can do is that little jump and try and just get these little chippy hits into him, and watch when he walks back. You got to stay close to get under the fireballs, but then he does a step forward which can fuck you up. Sometimes he does like a half step and then double step, and then when he goes back you can really like hammer him. I get intense just watching. Hey, there's that elephant. Yeah, so I wonder what happens in the bonus stage in about 8. I heard tell of a mansion, but I think that's the Master System version. Alright, so Area 7, this is where the editing will get a bit weird. In the bottom left there you can see a loading from state slot, so that's basically because I've gone through this a few times now and I'm reloading, and I've realised it was quite scary because I thought I'd really cocked it up. I got to this stage and waited for the continue, and then it just said game over. Cold chills going down. Oh no, I'm going to have to go through that all again. So I realised you couldn't save on this level, and then there was the shock of that. So there, when I went to the second checkpoint there, that's save state again. So I'm using the save state like a continue basically. But then I realised, oh, you saved. But I thought for a minute I didn't. I think I recorded on the night before, so I couldn't remember if the next day. Oh no! I hope I made a save on number 7, but it's always a good idea to use those save states in RetroArch. So here we go again. I've tried to piece it together so it doesn't look jumpy. What worries me is that, like, there'll be some, well, maybe there'll be some people, I don't know who would watch a playthrough of this kind by someone who's not good at the game without a voiceover. The only thing I can offer is a voiceover, really. I can't offer the best playthrough of the game. So what I did here, I'm just showing you, this is the save state menu, and saved here because there's this jump coming up that is a real bugger, and this, I was stuck on this for like an hour. So what you've got to do is get over here without hitting that egg, because you get the debuff of the death, and it's really hard because you already have very low energy. You can see I'm below half and I need as much as possible, so I had to get over that egg, and you've got to be right on the edge of that platform in order to be able to do it. So I could, I mean, technically you could go through here and just keep save stating all the way through, you never have to do anything again, but I decided, well, try and do it just like checkpoints, as if you've still got the continues. Otherwise it is purely pointless if you save after every enemy and after every jump. Didn't want to go quite that far. Hardly any point playing the game at that stage. There we go, the Fox's Glacier Mints level is over for the last time. Got a little life up there as well. So I wonder how many you could have if you'd done really well on the earlier levels by this stage. But this is legendary jump. I think it might be on this stage, which is the most impossible jump in the game, in my opinion. It just seems impossible, and it's one of those things that even when you do it, you're not really sure how it's being done. It's like the sprites are on the edge of each other and you're jumping right onto the edge of platforms, and the game mechanics are such that it springs you up and stuff. It's really weird. So everything's beef burgers and ice cream at the minute because I'm save stating. They stay like that. And I never really figured, I didn't put in the retrospective because I could never really figure out, I mentioned the ice cream and stuff, but I couldn't be sure if it was giving you more vitality or just giving you more points. I think it's just giving you more points looking at it now. I don't think I'm getting more vitality from the ice cream. Cherry gives you 2, I think. Yeah. Ooh. That's so close. I think that was on the spur of the moment as well. I like it when you just do those little twitchy things the first time. It's nice. Bloody frogs. I think we're coming up now. Coming up to it now. It's giving me flashbacks even just thinking about it. I just thought, and this was another point at which I just felt like, I don't know if the game's broken at this stage. I cannot see how this is humanly possible. Or digitally possible. Just doesn't seem... Is there something I'm missing? Is there a move that I'm missing that I've been able to do from the beginning and was unaware of? And this is like the last instance where you've got to use that or you just can't do it. This must be it here. I'll show you. I just give myself a minute to just talk through it and show you it. So it's here, look. These things that are going down, and there's 2 that are really close. You can just about make the jump once, and then there's a bigger gap between 2 of them, which it's really hard to perceive. So again, I'm saving here to make this jump, and I'll show you first off the fact that you can jump between 2 of them. I think I do a practice jump here just to show you. I'm just I think this is me editing, giving me time to talk you through it, you see. So here's my practice jump. So you can jump up there like that, but that's impossible, isn't it? Seemingly impossible. This is how you do it. So that's it. Seems really easy, doesn't it? But when you see it on screen, but that is mental. It just does not look possible. But it was doable. So if you are telling me that's the one example of which gave me the the courage or just the final nail in the coffin to say, this game is designed for you to die. No one is going to be able to do this. Not just that jump, but that was the kind of the clincher. It was like, okay, there's no chance that is possible on the first attempt, which gives you the clue. Okay, I understand what this game is about. Finally, you suspect it up to that point, but that's kind of like the final truth, because you just have to do it and do it and do it until you figure it out. But I'm sure actually more of that type of thing is going to come up as I play through more arcade games. I'm interested in other design decisions that I've forgotten about or was unaware of in the way games were designed. There's something I'll talk about. I don't know if there's a word for it in beat 'em ups, which is called this what I call chip damage, which is when you're in the middle of a combo, the enemy, unless you're using some unconventional like patterns of how you hit people, will always get a little chip of damage into you, no matter how consistent you're being with the combo that you're doing and the attacks that you're doing. And that always struck me as like a little nod to the arcade, a little nod to the fact that you can't have infinite energy, and no matter how well you do, sometimes we've got to keep taking energy off you because we want you to spend money. Golden Axe does it sometimes, but you can avoid it in Golden Axe. There's a little bit of it in Final Fight, I think, and I'm interested to see how much of it is in Shadow Warriors as well. I think there's a fair amount in Shadow Warriors of little chips out that will hit you out of a combo. So this is it, Area 7, Round 4, the final round. We've got there. A lot easier this now with, not got to time as many of these jumps, because we can just go through with the axes. And just towards the end, I do, to save on energy, I'm only able to get through this, I think, if memory serves, with you can see my vitality going down. I'm not moving fast enough, so basically it's like I just need to get through to the next area. No, I'm wrong, this is milk. That's milk, yeah, so it gets full up there. So later on I use that life basically, because the same thing happens, virtually no vitality on this life, so lose a life, save state and go with that nearly full vitality bar. You need it. You need some time to defeat the boss. Don't know why I'm not just running through these guys. There you go. Knew you were going to be there. Ha! Do this first time. Point. See, it's this kind of thing that is taking my energy. Need to move faster, dude. Not going fast enough. Ugh. And then when you get hit by the rocks, it takes even more. Yeah, so very little energy, vitality left here. Not enough. You're not gonna recover enough by the time you get to the boss to have enough time to kill him, I think, at this stage. So you would have to use a life if you're this far behind, I think. Unless you get a milk bottle. You do get one towards the end, but I don't think you get a full refill. Ooh. Almost lost in the blue-black sky there. Dusk. Dusk, or is it night time? Don't know. So just die here. And then we use his final life for the final run towards the boss. And try and retain as much of that health as possible. That's the mission here. We've got time. Just do this one jump here and hit that last rock, because if I try and jump in the middle of them I was just mistiming it, so you do it and you don't have enough time because you're being too precise. So final fight. This guy's a real swine. Look how fast he's moving. So I don't really know how I did this because strategy just went out the window at this stage. You just have to keep moving. He's firing so much and moving so fast. But I don't think it took me that long. The bosses actually were not that tough. It's some of the platforming that was the hardest. It kept me scratching my head for the longest. So here's Tina up here. Tanya, I think. Was it in Japan? So that's you get your little love heart. Final mission, round bonus. You collected 12 dolls. So we need double that plus 2, I think. To go through again. Game over. Game over screen. So maybe to get the credits you need to go through and I don't know, you need to go through and get that eighth mission or something. Okay guys, thanks for watching this playthrough. I hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed listening to me waffle. Different style when I'm talking over the gameplay, but hopefully it was enjoyable in a different way to before. Do check out the other videos on the channel if you wish. You might like to consider subscribing as well. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.